Hey everybody, well look at that. We did it without any problems this week. Hopefully you can hear me and see me and everything else. So thanks a lot for joining me. I've noticed this is actually BeckerArt. This is my David. And we're out of the studio. I just moved almost everything out this today. But today we're in my little office here at home, and so we're gonna try this just for now. It's not my studio at home. It's just I had to set up quickly to get the Thanksgiving paint-along in here, and so we're gonna be doing this little snow scene here today. And I'm gonna thank you guys for joining me. And I noticed I better put the volume down. Video and sound are good. Thank you, Everett. I'm hoping this works. When I get my home studio set up in my real studio, hopefully we'll get a bunch of stuff settled down. But this is just a temporary little spot I put here. And so today we're gonna do this little snow scene. And I just got back from Minnesota and did my first Zoom class. And so my first Zoom class turned out perfect. I mean, it was just really actually a wonderful class. We had whole family members from kids to adults doing the thing. So it was a lot of fun. And we're going to be trying doing some of those in the new year. We're going to be doing Zoom classes. And we'll probably do some weekly, every week, one day. And then maybe also some workshop type of things. Maybe I have acrylic classes. So we're going to do that come the new year. And that was my Zoom class I did this weekend. And so that was a lot of fun. Tonight's craft beer is going to be the UFO Blonde, Winter Blonde. As you can see that, it's so bright in here. There we go, the Winter Blonde. And it comes from New Hampshire, from the UFO, I think, distillery or brewery. So we're going to have that today. So cheers, everybody. Cheers, cheers, cheers. And let's see, we're going to go into now. We're going to talk to our supplies, of course, for anybody who hasn't been in my class or hasn't seen one of these. Here are my supplies. You can go there real quickly. I always go there real quickly so you can check them out to see what I'm working with. And you can buy my brushes on my website. And my website is BeckerArt.net. And so all you know that. Most of the people who come here know that. Actually, welcome Sheila, Everett, Lynn, Tina. Thanks for coming on a day early. We're a day early today. So Wednesday, since tomorrow is Thanksgiving, we didn't want to do it tomorrow. And let me just go over the value study here real quickly. The value study, I turned it black and white, and I also gave it a posterized effect this time. So the posterized effect that I'm giving it is just called posterized in Photoshop. And what it does, it takes and kind of simplifies the values, the black and white values. And so if you see, the buildings and the mountain are probably the only dark black things that are really, really dark. And also on the side there are some trees. We're going to do some pine trees. And that's about it for the darks. And the sky, as you can see, is broken up. It breaks it up into different values. I'm not going to do it that way. That's just what the computer did when it posterized it. So we're going to go from there, and we're just going to go right into painting. So let me go right into our scene here, our desktop. And again, if you have any questions, oh, not this one. We're going at that's the ending. So we haven't end yet. So here we go. So cheers, everybody. I gotta get another drink here. Okay, that's a really good one. Winter Blonde. It's for the blondes that are skiing on this mountain, right, in Switzerland. So here we go. As you notice, my palette is so clean again. I rarely clean my palettes, and my students will tell you that I rarely clean my palette because Holbein paints stay wet at all times, or stay where they can be rejuvenated instantly. They don't turn to hard clumps. So I haven't used this since last Thursday because I've been busy taking everything out of my studio. But as you can tell, it's dry to the touch and stuff. But when I wet it, instantly it becomes rejuvenated. And so this, I don't like to wash my palette because this is all good paint. And if I'm just taking a big, thing and wiping it away, I get rid of all that paint and I just kind of take it down the drain, put it down the drain. So I don't like doing that. So you can take paper towel and wipe out an area. So let me just do that real quick. I want to wipe out an area. So if I start out. And if you have any questions, please, I'm watching every once in a while. I'll look up and I'll check them out if there's any questions. Hey Jerry, just joined in. So with this one, we work from back to front usually, light to dark. But because the sky is a little bit darker than the mountains, I could go around that, or I could do the mountains that are a little bit lighter first. It's up to you. Excuse me. It's up to you. But I'm going to start with I'm going to start with the sky. I guess I can start with the sky. A lot of people like to take and mask that out and mask out and just do a really nice, heavy, even wash. I can do that too, but I'm not going to mask it out. I'm just going to take and wet the whole top area with my 1 1/4 inch brush. So I'm just going to take and wet it. No pigment in there at first. Go around the mountains. I still have a little bit of the Paris scene in my brush, it looks like. Haven't painted anything since then. It's one of those weeks, I guess. Getting rid of all my stuff out of the studio and trying to travel. And it actually, the last 2 days it's been raining here, so. All right, so there it's all wet. You probably can't tell. See it with the, when the shine. Oh, I missed a spot right there. So a little shine right there. And so now it's all wet, and so now I can take and go from light to dark. And so I'll take a light blue, and it looks like all my blues are dirty. So I'm just gonna wipe them real quickly. Just all I do is I put water on top of them, and I wipe them on my palette here, on my paper towel, or on my towel over here. I again use a towel over everything now. That's what I tend to do now. I go to Goodwill, I get myself some really cheap white towels. It doesn't matter what they look like, just that they're kind of white and clean, and then I can just rub my brush over them real easily to clean my brush, and I don't have to have paper towel. Well, I still have paper towel just for the little things. So see, it's all blending by itself because anything that's wet in the wet, will just blend itself. You don't need to blend watercolor. Watercolor blends itself once you put the water down. Now see, if I had masking fluid there, or so I have kind of stencil with this tape, then I can go straight across, but here I have to go up and down. So you just gotta watch that a little bit so that you don't get that kind of funky look like it's like you actually paint it up and down. So what I do is I stop it, I come around this side, go again, go down, just go across, and it will blend itself together. It's gonna look nice. And then you can also mix other colors in there while it's wet. And if you start seeing things that are getting out of control, like here down here, I noticed there's a big puddle. Now that's a little bit hard to control because anytime there's more water, it's just going to run all over the place. So I like to keep it really wet, but you have to watch out that it doesn't get so wet that it leaves puddles. And then the puddles will just do its own thing and kind of go back into the top part and make a mess out of things. So I'm going to go in here. Now I feel like up here is not dark enough, so I'm just going to take some rich ultramarine blue and just put the ultramarine blue on top. This is a horizon blue right here. That's a light blue, and I put that in a little bit in with that dark blue, the ultramarine. And now, since I've see how I don't want that to stop right there, so I'm gonna take and go up to the mountain and then continue on the other side of it because it really looks terrible. It looks not so good when it doesn't look terrible, but it doesn't look as good if you stop and you just go again, or like I said before, put masking fluid on there or tape. Or now at the same time, the dark sides, the parts that are a little bit darker in the mountain, I'm just gonna take that blue and bring them right into the mountain right away. Why not? It's already, there's a little bit of dark right there, and just kind of copy what you see up there. Take the same darks, and here I have a little bit of the mess from last week, so I'm using a little bit of that on the top here. And so I come down here, and then I go over this way. I'm going to take that blue that's from the mountaintops, and here I noticed that the water was kind of rich, and so it's pushing back up into that area. I'm going to leave that. It kind of looks like it's like there's mist up there. Again, you kind of go with what you get sometimes with watercolor. And so I'm going to come down here. And since this blue is, I want to put a little bit of violet in there because it's on the mountain and purple mountains, majesty, right? So we're going to go and put a little purple in there too. And right away, go on the top here. And I notice there's just a little bit of white showing through. And so I'm kind of going there with a little purple and blue. Just mix those together. And then when I get down to the top of the buildings, I notice the top of the building has white covered on top. So I'm going to sit and leave that alone. It's not, I didn't wet it first because if I did, then I would not get that nice hard edge line. I'm going to come down here, get a little bit of dirtiness. And so with blue, what do you use for dirtying it up and graying it? Orange. So that's kind of an orangey brownish mess over there. So just dip a little bit into that and you get a little bit of dirt, a little bit of darkness and a little bit of grayness into that. And which is what you want, kind of. And if I didn't want to get this dark, remember though, it's going to dry 20% lighter. It'll dry lighter, so don't give it too much of a thought. It looks dark at first. And again, that's always the big problem that our workers have. They don't get it right with the values because it looks dark, but it's going to get 20% lighter, meaning that you have to make it look wrong to make it look right. So this dark right here, I'm not going to do right at the moment. I'm just going to leave that. And I notice my sky up here. That's okay. And I think it's too late to go back. Oh, let me see. I'm going to think I go back just a little bit. I would like to get a little bit darker right in that corner. So what I do is I make sure when I go back into the area like that, I look to see how much water is in that area. And I kind of look from the side. If you look from the side, you can see if it's still wet. See if I get a little glare there. I'm going to glare it for you. See, there's a little glare still. That means it's still wet. And I can still put the same amount of water in my brush. Now, if I make too much water in my brush, that's going to get all messy and give me a watermark. So what I want to do is I'll rinse my brush if I have to, wipe it on my paper, wipe it on my cloth. And now I'm going to go into this, what I have already, the water that's down on my palette. And there's water down here already, so I'm just going to take and let that float in the pigment, let that float in the water. Make it a little bit darker. You can almost feel it, like if you're down here and it's kind of not sticking, that means it's not wet enough. So you add a little bit of water, but watch how much pigment to water ratio we have because it's really important to get that right. And I made it a little bit darker in that corner there. And now I'm going to head over to my other brush because now I've got the top done and I've got the mountains in the distance done. And you notice how those went into the wet wash. And so those, by going into the wet wash, I get a soft edge. So over here I want a hard edge, more of a hard edge. So I will wait for that to dry a little bit. And I think it's already dry in that corner. So, and now I'm going to take my round brush. And my round brush is going to give me my hard edges. And I'm going to go in here and get all these little darks all the way through here. All the way through here. There's all the dark shadows. I'm not going to do the darks in there yet. The dark parts where that looks like you can see the rocks where it's not sitting on the snow's not sitting on the rocks. So what I'll do is I'll go first with the dark blue and then I'll put the dark in there later. And it can be hard edge. It doesn't matter. It could be hard edge there later. And I'll go with, again, a little bit of purple. That's lavender I'm just dipped into. So there's a little bit of white on the rim. And a little bit of white. And I kind of come down here and then I go into the dark. And it's kind of going over. It comes down. And then I kind of come up. Now, again, like, oh, see, that's wet, and so it's going to bleed. Oh, boy. Oh, well, what do? You take paper towel. Take a little bit of paper towel. Let me get it right here. Take a little bit of paper towel. And actually, some of that is not bad. Again, it'll look like it's misting. So that's a good thing. And so what I'll do is I'll take, and if I do that, it's going to take a little bit of blue. Just leave it. Just leave it. Having a little bit of soft edges there is not a bad thing. We'll just go back there later, and we can also rub it out too a little bit. Now this is going to be a lot darker up here, but I'm just going to go in with some other colors too. While it's wet, always you work it while it's wet. So if you don't get the right exact color with the first wash, that's okay. You just wait a little bit, and then you take your brush, get in there, and make a different values a little bit in there. It's not like you're painting with oils and where it's one solid thing. You know, see how there's a little bit of light in there, a little bit of dark. And so it kind of goes up here, goes down. And I will add a little bit of dark, dark purple in there, or dark blue. I'll rub a little purple in there, maybe a little bit of brown. The imidazolone brown is going to come in there later. But see, I'm going to take that blue and brown together and just go in there and get some of that darkness in there too. A little bit of the dark blue. Not that dark stuff yet. All right, any questions? Just ask. I look up every once in a while to see what I see. If there's any questions up there. And I figure there's not as many people today because it is Wednesday, and I normally don't do these on Wednesday. But I decided that I still want to do one. I didn't paint all week and felt the need to paint before the big holiday. And so then I'm coming down here. I'm getting a little lighter and darker. And I keep this dry because I want the hard edge on the outside, but everything on the inside is going to be wet and wet into wet, right? And so you kind of come down here, and it looks like right up to the house, almost. It kind of goes. Oh, this is all right here, and look at this big area, big area. I'm putting water down, and then I'm going to manipulate it. I'm first putting the water down, and I come back with manipulating some of the colors. And while it's wet, you just let it float and let it do its own thing. If you want to put some warmth in it, it looks like there's a little bit of warmth in that. You can put a little orange in there. You know, put a little orange to kind of tone it down, the blue, give it more of a gray, and give it some warmth. Because some of this is a little bit warmer. You know, some of the parts look a little bit warmer. You don't want to make it monochromatic where it's just the one color blue. You know, that gives I mean, it's okay. And this could make a great Christmas card. You know, put a little bit of snowflakes in there later, or you could just write on the Happy Holidays in the bottom. You know, it can be a great Christmas card. I actually don't do that because people like to then frame them. So your cards, when they get your cards with if they're a painting, I used to do them hand painted greeting cards, and people would love them. And actually, I stopped that after a while. People were saying, "I didn't get your Christmas cards this year, or your holiday cards this year." I was like, "Well, that's because I didn't do them." And so I started getting them every year. So I had to stop because the list was getting bigger and bigger. So here we kind of go, and there's a little bit different blue. As I'm coming forward, I'm going to try to get that blue a little bit more vibrant. Now see what happened here with the bleeding because I didn't wait for it to dry. You guys wait for it to dry. I can probably wipe that off later, but always do it after it's dry. Don't try to fix something while it's wet and damp. It just doesn't work. It just make a whole mess of it. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to follow this little mark here, come down. Here we go across. And as I'm coming down, again, I'm getting a little bit brighter blues. Not darker as per se, I'm just getting brighter. Trying to get it brighter. And actually, a lot of times with snow scenes, you use the background as your warm colors, and your foreground you get even cooler. So these buildings and then some of this warmth, that orange I put in there, make it warmer. And then as you come forward in the front, that's where you're going to get your nice cool blues and purples. So watch this. I'm going to come over here on the bottom, get a really nice rich blue, ultramarine here a little bit. And look at that. I mean, it doesn't look like the photograph, right? Because a photograph is a photograph, and it's kind of gray. And hey, I'm going to make it better than the photograph. I want to make it, you know, the artsy part. I want to make it look super art watercolorish. So I'm kind of coming in with my big brush, get in there with some beautiful blues, peacock blue, ultramarine blue. Got little lines from the shadowing coming across here. Put a little white in there too to make it even kind of I like putting white in there because it kind of makes it more pastel, the blue. And that's not a bad thing. I'm not using it to cover something up. I'm using it to enhance the pastel look. So if you want to make it more of a pastel looking kind of scene, add white to the paint. And it, you know, it's white, the snow is white, so it's going to be okay. And so you go right in there. All right, so let me look at it for a second and take a drink, a swig. Cheers, everybody. Cheers, cheers. Thanks, Linda. Linda says she's loving the brushes. The brushes are really nice. They're Holbein brushes that put my name on them. There's a BeckerArt brush, and they're synthetic nylon. And I'm just stalling here, guys. I'm just trying to let this. Hold on, one thing I got to do here before I stall. I'm just going to get a little bit darker down here, a little bit more rich. And I'm going to put this in there like that. But the brushes are synthetic nylon, and they come to a super sharp point. And if you want some other sizes besides what my BeckerArt brushes are, They're called Holbein gold brushes, and you can get them from Vermont Art Supply. I think they're gold. Oh, what do you call it? Go to Vermont Art Supply, and you can see the synthetic gold Holbein gold series, and really nice brushes. I just happen to have 6 brushes that have my name on it that they've made for me, and so thanks, Linda. And Everett asked, how do you handle the blossoms? The blossoms, some of them I leave. When it comes to snow scene, blossoms are good. Like these blossoms I kind of like. The ones that are where the white, let me show you this closer up. See the kind of the white blossoms into the other, and over here we have a little blossom. Oh, don't touch it. The blossoms there go into the dark and kind of give it anything. Now these blossoms, I'm gonna rub when they're dry. I'm just gonna rub them away and then put another wash over that. Maybe put a little bit of white blue on there. But that kind of blossom, you just have to wait for it to dry and you can rub it away. Thanks, Catherine, for I know you like the brushes. You guys I've taught at some of the workshops I've done. And what else we got here? No problem, Maria. I love doing the paint-alongs. I'm gonna keep on doing them. I will start doing some classes though, where it'll be more personal, Zoom classes. And the Zoom classes will be more personal because I'm probably gonna only accept so many people in them at first. And give it more of a personal touch where I can actually look at your paintings and watch you if you have a good camera setup. And so it's gonna all give me more of a. It's not gonna be like this. A lot of people I notice they do their Zoom meetings like this where they just paint and then you do it afterwards. It's not gonna be like that. It's gonna be more of a class where we go step by step through the whole painting, which is what I did this weekend. So it'll be a little bit different from these, and you'll be painting along. It'll be actually a class, and I'll probably send you the image beforehand, and it'll be a weekly class. One of them will be a weekly class. Maybe the others will be a little bit different. So anyway, so now we've got a few of the warms we got to get in here. Let me just get a little bit of really light blue in there, a little violet. Everett asked what colors I used for the snow. I've used ultramarine. I actually used every one of them. I've used every one of my blues, which is horizon blue, peacock blue, ultramarine blue, and Prussian blue. And then I add a little bit of lavender to it too, so you can make it a little bit violet into the blue. And so those are my blues. Now I do have composed blue in there. I keep on calling it compost, but it's not compost. It's composed blue. And so I'll just bring this down here, get some nice lighter blues. Maybe I'll make those mountains those dark. Maybe the blossoms I can make into like a part of the mountain. But I'll show you later on how I get rid of them too. So now it's time for those are all my lights and mediums. I went from my lights to my mediums. Now comes the darks, right? So now comes my details. So I'm going to do a building. So buildings are rectangular things. So I'm going to use my flat brushes because they're very rectangular. And since they're smaller, I'm not going to use my 1/2 inch because these are a little bit too small for using a 1/2 inch. So I'm making them a warm. Here I use imidazolone brown, maybe a little bit of orange in there. I want them warm. And the one side of the building looks like it's a little bit darker. So I'm going to go start with that. I actually start with the lighter side, but I'm just going to pull in some of that dark into the lighter side. Get my head out of the picture. And then bring this down here. Let that bleed into the snow. The snow reflects some of the browns, and so you just put them right into the snow, the browns. So going to top here. Under the eave, I always keep it nice and orangey. Now, if it's not getting the corner, that's okay. Just you can do that later. I'm going to try to combine the buildings together too as like one whole thing where I kind of bring them together as one, like the colors, I keep them the same. And I kind of go underneath here, get the rooftop of that one. And again, like always, I always float other colors in there. I never am satisfied with just one color. I have to go in with other colors because that's the way it seems like you should do it. And once it's wet, you float other pigment in there. All right, so then we go across, and on this side, anything pointing this way will be a little bit lighter because my light is coming this way, right? It's coming off this and it's hitting this side of the, everything coming this way. So there'd be shadows across here then too from the buildings. You know, you do this after you do the shadows, so you know what it is that you want to shadow. See right here, you're just going to shadow that building. This building is being shadowed right here. This building here is going to have a shadow on the side. This one. And we keep on going across, taking the same brown, purpley brown. I just kind of go down there. Now I don't want to give a little more I don't want as much contrast over here, so I'm going to pull some of this out here a little bit because that's a little bit too contrasty. I'd rather have that for over here. When this dries, I'll do the really, well, not when it's dry right now. I'll do this really dark spots here. A little overhang. A little later on, I'll put in the what do you call it? The windows. Again, and if a lot of times I don't see it really close up, and so I'm just making things up here a little bit. You figure they're rectangular buildings, and what else is it there to do? It's like make a rectangle. That's a building. And I put a little bit of warmth in that. And with buildings, there's rooftops, and the rooftops here are snow covered. So what are they? White. Very simple. Just leave them alone. And now that my background is dry, my mountains are dry, I'm touching it with the back of my, should be touching with the back of my hand. See, I can tell because the back of your hand doesn't have as much oils as your fingertips, so always try to test it with the back of your hand. So now I'm going to go in with a dry paper towel, and I'm just going to go in here with a wet brush, and I'm going to just pull a little bit of this paint out of here where I made the boo-boo. But you only do it when it's dry. See how easy it is when you get it out of there when it's dry? If it's wet, you're pulling stuff out that you don't want to pull out. I'm just going to wet with the parts I want to pull out, and boom, done. See that? No big deal. Got it done. All right, so now we go in and we do our little details. And there's a lot of little details in the mountains that I want to get in because this is not that very hard a picture to paint, but you want to just leave it to a point where you get some details in there. Some people like to make it where there's hardly any details, where it's very simple. That's okay too. Andy Evanson paints a lot like that, where it's very broad and not as much detail, but it just gets the right detail where it's needed. The paper I'm using today it's the Stonehenge Aqua Cold Press. Comes from Legion Papers. I'm using 300 pound. I always usually use 300 pound. I just am lazy. I don't like stretching 140 because when the way I work with real wet like this, it's going to be, I always get way too wet, and so it would buckle at 140 if I didn't stretch it, and I'm too lazy to stretch. It's just me. There's a lot of people who love 140, and so more power to you. Use it. It's a great. I know Robert Wade always used 140, and he swore by it. And I'm just like I said, I'm lazy. I know. And some people wet the back and front of the 140 when they're painting, and so I guess that leaves it flat. But again, I like to use the 300 pound. Just makes it very simple for me. All right, so here we go now with the darks, and I'm using a Middelstone brown, which is kind of a purpley brown, and then this is like an alizarin crimson. And I put that a little bit in there. I'm gonna get nervous now. See how I'm shaking? I'm so nervous right now. I see I'm shaking and going like this. And by doing that, I can just put in these little dots, little parts where the mountain has where you can see the land instead of the snow on top, right? So if you have the shakes or you're older, this is a perfect time. You're gonna love it. You can get all these beautiful things in there. And it also matches some of your buildings over here, which is really neat. So this side of the rooftop, I noticed I'm going to just make blue. I just noticed I didn't put any blue on there. I'll just make that blue just so that it looks like there's snow on it. And then I'm going in with these browns. Again, I also put a little orange in that Middelstone brown. And then I just kind of tap, dab, dab, dab. Just a little dabbing here and there. It's more of a tint. It isn't, what I call a tint is where you use a lot of water, but just very little bit amount of pigment. That's a tint. And then I just kind of bounce my brush over it a little bit, because it's not going to show a lot, just enough to give it a little dirtiness of the worms in the background, like where you see the land. And I was asked about some of these lines, and I didn't use my kneaded rubber eraser this time to get them not as dark, but you can erase them later on. You can just take your kneaded rubber eraser, and if you don't like the really dark line, you can just erase them right through the watercolor. Usually it works out really well. If you're using the paper, where you're tracing it, the tracing graphite paper, that tends to not come off sometimes, so you have to watch that part. Now I'm getting a little texture by running a dry brush across some of the snow. Over here, I'm just going to kind of get a few little textures, and I went in here, got some, again, more of a tint, and I'm just taking it, putting it across here real quickly. Boy, we're going to get this thing finished fast here. Boy, I'm going to have to slow down a little bit. Ask some more questions so I don't finish so fast. And then we're going to go down here, get some dirty water. Dirty water sometimes is a good thing too, just to kind of get a little bit of the colors I've been using, because that's what your water is dirty color of what you've been using. You just going to go in here. I'm just going to kind of get a little bit of tint in there, some texture. And now for the detail. Oh, I forgot all these little. I'm going to take my small round brush and make some pine trees in here. Some pine trees sitting on the side. And I will use a little bit of green, but I'm going to use a dark green. So I'm making quinacridone gold and my Prussian blue. This will give me a really dark blue green. And so I want that to be right here. The only other parts that are kind of green, and I don't know what kind of trees they are down here, but I'm figuring, Alps, and so figuring pine trees, right? And so we're just going to go in there and just make pointy top trees here. And coming along here. All right, another toast, everybody, for happy Thanksgiving, everybody, tomorrow. Please keep safe. Going over here. And then maybe around some of the buildings, a few trees. What the heck? They're not there, but I'm trying to get some of this green over here now, so why not put some of it over here too? Because there's probably usually a tree or two near the houses, near the buildings, this village. And also, if there's something you want to cover up, great thing to do is put trees in front of it. Like if you don't like something, just put a tree in front of it. Run it down here. I think I'm going to bring it up a little bit. Let's do a big one right here. I think it's all going downhill, so if I kind of cross over and do a big one, it'll get my eye to go back up this way. So this is a huge tree, but that's okay. You're just, I want to make my eye go back up. I'm going to come over this way and then back up to that area. That would be like a mountain tree right here. It's so big. That's okay. You can fake things. You're the artist. Artistic license. You can do anything you want. You're the artist. And let's see what else we got going here. So we got these little trees going. Yeah, I will put some palm trees in there too. It looks like palm trees in there. If you look close at the photograph, it looks like palm trees. So Suze, I think you almost have it right there. They kind of look like that. What the heck? Put a color. You're the artist. You can do whatever you want. Put palm trees in there. That's fine. It's a resort. They brought them in from from California. All right. So let's see. Now we're gonna go to the nitty gritty. So I got out my rigger brush. And there's a couple, if you look really close in there, there's telephone poles, there's fence poles, there's all kinds of poles in there. And so we're going to come here. I'm taking almost a black. And right here along the street, I'm looking at my thing, and actually there are a lot of telephone poles. So I put a couple telephone poles in here. Ooh, that was in a wet area, so it got big. So don't do that. And then a couple of little fence posts here. Look at that. Boom, boom, boom. Make those sounds while I do it. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, ba-de-doom, boom. Boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. A little line. Kind of come up here. Windows. Here, we got to put some windows in this thing. So dark windows first, because that's what I have in my brush. And now we'll put some white in my brush and get some white windows. Lighter windows. And also, you can put some blue windows in there because they reflect the sky, right? So, and how do you do that? You take white and blue. You take a little bit of white, and you make it thick, and then add a little bit of blue, add a little blue, and then put some blue windows in there because the windows reflect what the sky is. So here's a couple blue windows in there. See how it just reflects the sky? Beautiful. Just a little blue. And here I'm going to put a couple things in there to make it look a little bit not so clean. I like to have a little bit of dirty, not dirty snow, but just kind of so everything's so perfect. Now I want to. This is landscape, and it's not perfect. And if you notice, there was a building in the front of this picture I took out in Photoshop because I just felt it wasn't in the wrong space, so I took it out of there. So here I feel that this is too big a line, too big of a triangle. So I'm going to mess it up with a little bit of white. I'm going to come in white in here and just kind of mess it up a little bit. Because it's not, it could be perfect fallen snow, but again, I'm an artist, I can do whatever I want. So, and I would put my name right here just to get my eye to go back up here. And then, so I want to dirty this up here over here, so it kind of goes upwards a little bit, maybe a couple little dots here. Alrighty, I think we're pretty most done here. So guys, give me a question, so we don't have to finish it at 7:07. Holy smokes, we got this one done fast. Which I guess is a good thing. It's not about how fast and how long it takes you to do it. It's about doing it the right way. Getting those things in, get in and get out. Try to just put it down and leave it. Going back over something and try to correct something, is just not a good thing. You know, you can go back over things. I'm going darker now with my dark center of interest area. This is the center of interest, these buildings right here. This is my secondary interest, actually. And so I'm going to put the secondary interest and get a few things in there. And I think that will be about it, right? Yeah, I would sign it right here with a dark thing. I'll show you. I sign my name with this brush. I use it like a pen. And then I just do dots for my letters, and there you go. So there's the signature. And I think, let me just, a few more things. I just feel I need a little bit more dark in here. And that should be warmer, so why not put a little bit of warmth in there? So you can put a little warmth, that means orange. Orange or pinkish colors to put inside the blue. And then you get the edges. Hey Lynn, if you couldn't get that on the print, go to my website, and it should be in my website, the picture, if you want to print it out. It's definitely on my website. I think when you press on it, it comes up with a big image on my website at BeckerArt.com. And so you can go there and you can pick up the photo. I must have screwed up the newsletter today. Sorry about that. It's been a busy week, and so happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Let me get to this other thing. I hope you guys all stay safe this holiday season. And so have a great Thanksgiving, everybody, and we will see you next Thursday. Next Thursday, I'm not sure what we're doing. I did get a new set of colored pencils from Holbein, so we're gonna maybe add a little bit of colored pencil to our watercolors. So maybe look for that next week. And again, happy Thanksgiving, and stay safe, everybody. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.